This case right here is 11 years in the making.
The other option is to pay the blackmailer, but let him know that this is just a one-time thing.
She laundered the money by putting it through the laundry. This is the funniest thing I ever heard of.
Charlie Adelson wanted to hire someone to kill his sister's ex because his mom was stressed out.
This case is wild.
Donna Adelson was offering them bribes in exchange for false testimony in this trial.
What? You must follow the law. The law says...
Glorious. Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up. It's the Law with Attorney Larry Forman. Folks, today we're going to conclude the prosecution's opening in the Donna Adelson jury trial, the murder for hire case. It is getting crazy. I mean, all these players acting together in concert, in a conspiracy, all to kill a man so they can regain custody of their children and bringing them closer to home in Miami, away from Tallahassee, where Dan Markel, the victim in this case, was living at the time. It is a horrifying story. So sad, so disappointing, and so complicated because you have people getting paid out of a dental office. They're getting paid pursuant to payroll. And these people are not even working there, like Catherine, who's sitting behind bars, by the way, as we speak, as are the two hitmen for this crime. So there's a lot of people who are currently serving time behind bars about all this. And Charlie as well. Charlie Adelson was convicted in November of 2023. And like we said, Donna is next on the chopping block. So without further ado, let's conclude the prosecution's opening in the Donna Adelson case. Folks, I am really excited for this one. Let's go.
And in person, she gives him the paperwork that this blackmailer gave to her and makes it Charlie Adelson's newest problem to solve. And naturally, what does Charlie Adelson do? He goes to the next train car, Catherine McManawa. Charlie Adelson and Catherine McManawa meet in person at a restaurant called Dolce Vita in Miami. And while they sit at their table in this busy, noisy restaurant, an undercover FBI agent is sitting at a table nearby with a camera hidden in a bag, recording the conversation. So this is an image from that video recording the conversation. And in the recording, we hear Charlie Adelson discussing whether the man who walked up to his mother could be an undercover police officer, or he could be someone trying to legitimately blackmail them. And if it's a blackmailer, is it somebody who just saw a way to make a quick buck? Or is it another situation entirely, which would be much worse for the Adelsons? Is it actually someone with inside information about Donna Adelson's role in the murder of Dan Markel, and that person could tell police what they know? Charlie Adelson reassures Katie, Catherine McManawa, that if it is the police, that is a good thing. Charlie Adelson thinks that, hey, if it's the police, that means the police don't have enough evidence to charge anybody. You know, they're just fishing for information. And in fact, Charlie Adelson tells her, hey, if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. It's important to note that at the time of this conversation at Dolce Vita, no arrests had been made in this case. And the only thing that police had released to the public at that point was a photo of the light-colored Prius that fled the scene. Police knew at that point that it was Garcia and Rivera who were in the Prius, but the public didn't know that yet. So that fact is interesting in light of some of the things that Charlie Adelson started saying to McManawa. He starts giving her several analogies involving rental cars being used to commit crimes. He reassures her that the police can't prove a person committed a crime just from someone's DNA being in a car that was used in a crime. In order to prove someone committed a crime, you have to be able to put the person at the scene of the crime at the time it was committed. So he's trying to reassure her that even if they identify who rented that car that fled the scene, they still would not have enough evidence to hold anybody responsible for this murder. Charlie Adelson also says that crimes are tough to prove unless someone actually witnessed the suspect commit the crime, or the suspect confesses to the crime, or a suspect is caught on a wire talking about the crime. So he's trying to reassure her about the lack of evidence in this case, about no witnesses, and trying to let her know that, hey, as long as we all stay quiet and nobody confesses or gets caught talking on a wire, then we don't have anything to worry about. And he begins...
Little does he know that there's a video camera recording everything that he is saying by an FBI agent nearby at the restaurant. That's wild. That is wild.
Educating Catherine McBanois about how blackmail works. He tells her that, hey, if this is a guy who knows information, there's 2 ways of dealing with this guy. You know, we could call the police, but then the guy blackmailing us could be charged, and then that blackmailer is going to start talking, and the police are going to be asking questions about what happened. The other option is to pay the blackmailer, but let him know that this is just a one-time thing, and we'll try to scare him off by saying, if you come around again, we'll go to the police. Charlie Adelson gives McBanois very precise instructions on how to deal with the blackmailer. He tells her to call the blackmailer and tell her that my friends, meaning the Adelson family, have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm just going to give you this money as charity, but don't contact these people again or they'll go to the police. And Charlie Adelson said he would give McBanois the $5,000 to pay off the blackmailer who approached his mother, except that he's concerned that this guy won't go away. He'll get that $5,000 and then he'll just keep coming back and coming back for more money. We'll see him as an easy target. And so Charlie Adelson then offers that the best solution might be to have the blackmailer killed, and that he's willing to pay whatever it takes.
Oh,
he says,
God.
So help me God, if they F with my family, it's going to be Nazi shit, because this will be done. I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend. And after hearing that Charlie Adelson wants someone killed and is willing to pay whatever it takes to get it done, McBanois then asks Charlie Adelson to help her out. And Charlie Adelson reassures her she'll be taken care of and reminds her she's on salary at the parents' dental practice. After Charlie Adelson finishes this meeting where he's getting McBanois to then solve the problem of the blackmailer, they say goodbye. He gives her a big hug that's captured on camera outside by the FBI. And then Charlie Adelson immediately calls the defendant to let her know everything's fine.
Everything's going according to
plan. He has handled the situation.
Wow.
He does this using some pretty obvious code words that you'll often hear these conspirators use to mask the meaning of what they're talking about in case law enforcement's listening. McBanois then, also using code words, calls Garcia, and she tasks him with calling the number on their paperwork and finding the identity of the blackmailer. And in the series of recorded calls that y'all are going to hear later this week, you'll hear these conspirators talking and using words like TV, relationship advice, false leads, listings, patients, properties, clients, rap songs, CDs, pigs, all these terms that are obviously normal words, but they're used in context that, if you're listening to the conversation, don't make sense. So, after that undercover operation was over in 2016, Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia are arrested, and they're charged with the same charges before y'all in this trial. Luis Rivera, who was the second person in that Prius, cut a deal with the state and told law enforcement the truth about the murder of Dan Markel and the people responsible for it. He told police that he was hired by his longtime friend Garcia to help kill Dan Markel. Rivera described how Garcia told him that this was a job that Magbanua was able to get for them, and it was in Tallahassee, and it paid $100,000, and that Rivera was going to get a third of the money. Rivera said that during the trip to Tallahassee, Garcia had a piece of paper with a picture of the man that they were hired to kill and some handwritten notes. And during that trip, Rivera said that the first call that either of them made after the homicide was from Garcia to Magbanua, where Garcia told her that the job was done and Magbanua assured them they would get their money the next day, which they did. That Magbanua brought the money the next morning to Rivera's home. And law enforcement checked cell phone records, which corroborated Rivera's information. Law enforcement told police that the money that he received from Magbanua the next day was packaged in a very unusual way. The money was basically in stacks of 1,000. Each stack was made up of $100 bills that were then stapled together. And after each stack was stapled together of 1,000. And after learning this from Rivera, Magbanua was arrested, and that was in October of 2016. During this trial, you'll hear that the Adelson family had access to a lot of cash because their family gave cash discounts at their dental practice. Like if you paid in cash, you would have to pay less than if you paid on a card or check. And they kept the cash that they received in stacks, and they stored it in a safe. Law enforcement also learned from Charlie Adelson's friends that Charlie Adelson had a very unusual practice of keeping his money in these $1,000 stacks that were stapled together, just like the money Rivera received. And over the last few years, since the 2016 arrests of Garcia and Rivera in May, and then of Magbanua in October 2016, law enforcement has not stopped working on this case. 3 years after Garcia's arrest, in 2019, he was convicted at his trial. Law enforcement continue, though, to gather evidence. They continue to interview people who may possibly have information and to clarify all of these recordings the FBI did that couldn't be clearly heard. And thanks to their tireless efforts, in March of 2022, Charlie Adelson was indicted. 2 months later, in May of 2022, Catherine Magbanua's case went to trial, and she was convicted. During Magbanua's trial, Catherine Magbanua took the stand.
Wait a second, hold on. How is that not prejudicial? I mean, okay, the hitmen convicted, and one of them pled out, the other got life imprisonment, that's fine. But now to say that Catherine has also been convicted, I don't know. It seems very prejudicial. I imagine the defense was jumping up and down trying to get this stuff excluded, and the court said no, it's all coming in, because obviously she's talking about it in an opening statement. It's really putting the target on Donna's back, because if all these people are already serving time, it's like, well, she probably did it too. The jury might be thinking at this juncture. That's a very dangerous game. You got to be very careful as a prosecutor so as not to taint the jury into thinking well, they're all convicted and they're serving time, so let's do the same thing with Donna. Because that could raise some very serious issues on appeal, potentially.
She insisted, this is back in May of 22, she insisted she had no knowledge of the murder. The Adelsons must have just gone around her to hire the hitman directly. That's what she testified to. Her defense team insisted that the state's theory was correct about every co-conspirator except for her, for Catherine Magbanua. That Catherine Magbanua was just this victim of bloodthirsty and desperate prosecutors and investigators, and just a victim of this set of circumstances that appeared to prove one thing, but was actually, the truth was something else entirely.
It's amazing to think that this case right here is 11 years in the making. 11 years in the making. And how many people have already been convicted? At least 4 that we can think about, right? Charlie Adelson, Catherine, Luis Rivera and the other guy, Garcia. Rivera, Garcia, Catherine, and Charlie are all behind bars, serving various prison sentences. And now it's Donna's turn. And Wendy probably will never be prosecuted, it seems like, since she's got immunity and whatnot. And who knows her level of involvement. This case is wild.
However,
No wonder
after
everyone's
being
watching it.
convicted at trial and sentenced, Magbanua finally decided to testify about the plot to kill Dan Markel and admitted that she was the connection between the Adelson family and the killers hired to kill Dan Markel. Magbanua testified in Charlie Adelson's trial in October of 2023 and said that Charlie Adelson wanted to hire someone to kill his sister's ex because his mom was stressed out over all of the problems his sister was having with her ex-husband. Magbanua said Charlie painted a picture that Wendy's ex was this terrible man causing his mom so much stress that she couldn't sleep or eat. Magbanua agreed to help him and ended up recruiting her children's father, Garcia, and also Rivera to kill Dan Markel. She says that the night of the murder, she went to Charlie Adelson's house to pick up the payment for the murder. And when she arrived, Charlie Adelson said that his parents had just been at the house and that Charlie Adelson had the money for her there. Law enforcement was able to corroborate this claim with phone evidence showing that Donna Adelson went to Charlie Adelson's house the night of the murder. Magbanua then spent the night with Charlie Adelson that night, and the next morning, on July 19th, he put the money that she was to divide up into the trunk of her car. Magbanua says several things about the money stood out to her. She said it was stapled together in stacks of $100 bills and that it was damp like wet. She then delivered the money to Garcia and Rivera afterwards. When Catherine Magbanua said that when she asked Charlie Adelson about the money being damp, he said that his mother the defendant, had actually washed the money, and that she and Charlie Adelson kind of laughed about the fact that the defendant had literally washed the money so it couldn't be traced.
What?
In Charlie Adelson's
Wait,
trial-
Wait, you gotta be kidding me. Is this real? Is this real? It's damp because she was laundering it. She laundered the money by putting it through the laundry. I'm gonna die, folks. I'm gonna die. This is the funniest thing I have heard of in such a long time. What the hell? I am speechless. I am absolutely speechless. She has no clue what she's doing, and she's either watched too many cartoons on money laundering. I mean, at least do some research first, you dum-dum. Do you understand what money laundering is? It's not putting it in the laundry. It's like, oh, you put it through the laundry and then it can't be traced. Wow. Okay, all right, I'm over it. Let's keep going.
Charlie Adelson took the stand, and he testified that Magbanua, Garcia, and Rivera were all in on this crime together, but that the Adelsons had nothing to do with it. They were the innocent ones. He crafted an elaborate story in which Garcia and Rivera came to Tallahassee on their own, killed Dan Markel without his knowledge or his family's knowledge, and then these killers colluded with Magbanua to play he and his mother for fools and extort money out of them. And for many reasons, which will be revealed to y'all in this trial, Charlie's interpretation of the facts was not reasonable to believe, and he was convicted. Charlie Adelson was convicted in November of 2023. And within hours of his guilty verdict,
here it is.
This defendant began to plan to flee the United States to a country that she could not be extradited from in order to avoid being arrested for Dan Markel's murder. The defendant on her phone researched countries that did not have extradition treaties with the United States, and she applied for an emergency visa to Vietnam. She was overheard planning to put her money in trust for her grandchildren, and she and her husband purchased one-way tickets with a fast-track emergency visa to Vietnam. And Vietnam does not have an extradition treaty with the U.S., as she would have learned from her searches. And just days later, she was stopped by law enforcement on the jetway in Miami International Airport, where she was boarding her one-way flight to Vietnam.
Just this
and
close.
She was then charged
this
for her participation in the murder of Dan Markel.
Wow. Wow. That is good. That's good stuff.
After the defendant was charged...
So after she fails in putting the money through the laundry, she decides to flee to Vietnam and gets arrested as she's boarding the flight. I mean, it does not get juicier than that, folks.
Law enforcement received information from women who said that the defendant, Donna Adelson, was offering them bribes in exchange for false testimony in this trial.
What?
They said Donna Adelson promised them money, housing, veneers, prescription drugs, if they were willing to testify that Catherine Magbanua told them a completely different story about the crime than the one that she would be testifying to. One informant was even able to show law enforcement a script, a question and answer session for a direct examination and trial that Donna Adelson herself wrote, and that Donna Adelson wanted this informant to memorize and come into court and perjure herself by reciting it to you here in trial.
Wow.
Please listen to all of the evidence that y'all are going to see and hear in this trial. I know it's been a long week already, and we have a lot of evidence for you in this case, but when you do, you will see that this defendant conspired with her son, Charlie Adelson, who solicited his girlfriend, Catherine Magbanua, to get this murder done. And then this defendant...
And by the way, for the record, that diagram is amazing. The photos, connecting them all, like this is how they're related, this is the girlfriend, she's connected there, and it's a direct line between all of them. And the prosecution, I think, is doing a pretty good job so far.
Her.
I can't wait to hear the defense, which we're going to do later today.
With checks for the job once it was completed. The defendant acted in furtherance of this murder plot that went beyond just thinking about it or just talking about it. And these acts make her guilty as a principal to first-degree murder, just as if she was the one pulling the trigger in the garage
That's how
herself.
conspiracies work.
And while the defendant's choices helped solve a problem within her family, they came at a very high price. She took the life of a loving father of 2 little boys and caused a lifetime of grief for Dan Markel's loved ones. And at the conclusion of the evidence in this case, you will be convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty. And at that point, we'll ask you for the only verdict that does justice in this case, which is a verdict that this defendant is guilty as charged. Thank you.
Wow. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is Donna responsible? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious as to your thoughts, my audience. You guys. You. Yeah, you. Looking at the screen right now. What do you think? Is Donna guilty? Do you think Donna did it? I want to know your thoughts. I may even put a poll up on Twitter at some point. All the evidence is pointing to the fact that she was involved. I don't see a way out of it for her. I can't wait to hear what the defense is going to say. Like I said, we're going to do that very shortly here today, later today. I want to see what they say. So I'm just going to hold off judgment. It looks very damning. Very, 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 very damning for Donna. But it ain't over till the fat lady sings, as they say, right? In the opera. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.